lose her power. The first stop on the road to the ANWO Liberation Center. Tonight is a fundraising program hosted by myself, Coco Lewis, the Economic Development Coordinator of the African National Women's Organization, ANWO. And ANWO is the only anti-colonial, anti-imperialist revolutionary organization for African women worldwide. ANWO is under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We work to address and overturn the special oppression of African women. I believe that every Black woman and femme should see her or themselves in the ANWO and join. Before going into tonight's program, I want to acknowledge and salute my leadership, starting with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the leader and founder of the African People's Socialist Party, Deputy Chair Onajane Yeshitela, the architect of the Uhuru movement, and Yejide Oramila, president of ANWO. Thank you for President Yejide for always pushing us to be better leaders and revolutionaries. Great. Yejide, can you bring up the slide?
Yes, keep going.
All right, I'm just going to share. Right. So, script this. There we go. All right. So, you can go to the next slide. I got it. So thank you for tuning in or watching the rebroadcast. We have a packed agenda for you, starting with an analysis of the current political climate. Political climate, a review of ANWO's financial goals, and why we need your financial support today. We have a $5,000 goal for this broadcast, and currently we're at I have them here. So currently we are at 2,660. That means we need $2,440 to make this evening. So next I'll want to play this video. I was in the key.
No sound, we can't hear it.
Okay, that's enough. Here we go. Wait, let me start it over. You should be able to see here now.
I'm not cooperating and I'm not going. What is your right? Why are you arresting me? Why do you protest? Why? Give me a reason. I protest because you're killing us. Who is killing you? You police. You're killing us in our communities. Poor communities. Why do you want to arrest me? People's power! People's power! People's power! When we lose our fear, they lose their power! When we lose our fear,
I hope that inspires you as much as it inspired me. That video pretty much gave me an inspiration for this webinar. When that first came out about 2 weeks ago, this was sent to me a half a dozen times. And now you can almost never not see the video anywhere. If you search it, if you even search her name or the Kenya protest, that video doesn't show up after that went completely viral. And that speaks to the power of African women and the reason why we African women must lead. So with going into, that really may inspire this inspired this webinar. And that's because where her words rang true. If we lose our fear, we lose the fear of, if we lose our fear, they lose their power. There's no way that they'll be able to maintain. And we're going to go ahead and go into some climate issues here for as the current political climate, starting with myself discussing Project 2025. And that's to show that there is, unfortunately, that there is a project or plan or vision to make us more colonized because the colonial system is dying. And so the Project 2025, I'm sorry, this is our agenda for today. My apologies. We're going to discuss the political climate, looking at Project 2025, and also President yesterday, we're breaking down the funding sources, the attacks against funding sources for Black liberation organizations like ANWO and African People's Socialist Party and the Hoover movement in general. Then we'll go over the financial goals of this. We'll go over the financial goals of ANWO and why having the ANWO Liberation Center is so important, and how it's necessary to be the mecca of African women worldwide. Then we're going to go into the tenets of ANWO, which includes political action, political education, economic development. We're going to be discussing how our work in these fields furthers the liberation movement and addresses it to develop dual and contending power against the colonial state. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the future of ANWO and the ANWO Liberation Center and how we see it as the IAC, and hope to, encourage you all to, donate to ANWO and transforming this donated property into the mecca, what I feel like would be the mecca of African women worldwide, and African women having a home, a free and liberal territory, free territory and safe territory right here in the United States at the St. Louis ANWO Liberation Center. So we can go to the next slide. You can go one more. I did them out of order. All right. So if you have not heard about the Project 2025, it is a vision plan for whoever becomes the Republican candidate, and how it's just packaged up so they just have to whoever goes into power, or as far as the state of, and the United States, whoever wins as a conservative, this plan, it will be given over, and it's very well detailed and brought out. It is about 920 pages. It is split up into six sections, really. It's split up into 6 sections, which includes labor, gender and sexuality, and diversity in education. Actually, gender, sexuality, and diversity education are combined. Tenet then go into immigration, free speech, and the impact. So I added some additional, when I made the slide, I added some additional things there because we can really relate it to real things that we see every day and real things that are happening around us with these tenants. So this was written by the Heritage Foundation. I really don't want to give them, I think that's their name. I really don't want to give them credit, but just let it be known as a conservative plan for whoever becomes the president, regardless if it is any of the re-elections. The state gonna do what the state gonna do. And our situation is like, if as a working class, as a poor and working class people, we already feeling these effects. We already know that these are coming. We can feel it in our everyday lives, of our everyday jobs, and even within the movement and the depression that we feel, and the adversity we feel within the movement and the struggle for African liberation. So the first ideology is actually labor. I just want to get to my notes here. And I want to summate a summation. I don't want to, have this go too long because the document itself is about 920 pages. I did not read the full document. What I did did a lot of research with reading a summarized version. And additionally, I watched some videos of people who did go ahead and read the entire thing, and I listened to different viewpoints so I can, because you have different demographics of people who have their own ideologies regarding this. So I did go ahead and look at some different exposures to it, to get all sides basically. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So why society say you read it? That's very important. I wish I could commit to reading all 920 pages. So when it comes to labor, I mean, the labor tenant, is it really going to affect the people in the private and in the public sector, and how is they're looking to terminate about 50,000 career federal jobs right off bat, and it's really to make sure that they put into place the people that they call their loyalists. Those are people that go through their training, aligned to conservative Christian views, mostly from and we're going to gender momentarily, but they come from usually a male, white patriarchal perspective. And so, and conservative Christian is a key point, because that's going to be used as a kind of identifier. Underlying is white Christian ideology. White Christian ideology is through every single one of these points. So looking at the labor aspect, you're going to see a lot of people losing their job. They said about 50,000 people losing their job who they already know do not align with their beliefs, because they may be have a gender or sexuality or religious or cultural background that they do not unite with. And so additionally, they are, even now you can apply for jobs and the training. So if you are, jobs and training for this, you can go ahead and search it yourself if that's something that you're interested in, where they'll even train you to be a part of their system. And you have to, of course, unite and align with their principles of unity. Like we all have principles of unity, but it's pretty much conservative Christian views. Then comes gender and sexuality. And the main 2 points with the gender and sexuality is something that we're already experiencing as a people now. ANWO is an organization of African women and femmes. So gender-wise, you're going to see it's going to be against the law to use birth control. It's going to be against the law, and it's going to be yes, it's going to be against not just birth control, but abortion. And we're already seeing the abortion regulations change, and the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Additionally, and on top of that, any other sexual expression or identity will pretty much be considered pornography. I don't want to get us kicked off of YouTube, but it can be, pornography, So that will become illegal. So it will be pretty much illegal if this is adopted, the strategy is adopted, and they have the right as president to, take stuff as they want it or leave it. But any other sexual identity or expression besides your assigned is will be considered illegal under this, and you'll be excluded from public service, public work, and that's going back into the labor aspect. And the other next pillar, which actually goes into that because they talk about DEI, and that's diversity in education. So as far as diversity wise, yesterday we go into the Fearless Fund situation and the experiences that the ANWO movement has had with our financial, abilities to go ahead and sustain ourselves as an organization. Hence the reason why we are asking for donations now, because the ways that we have been in the past getting the resources to create and transform the donated property or pretty much abandoned property in the city of St. Louis, those doors are closing because regulations are already changing. We're already feeling this. And then education-wise, and we're seeing this with the removal of the critical race theory and any, the banned books that are pretty much getting more and more, conservative, the banned books. We're seeing that already as citizens, we're seeing these already. So even though this is their plan, it's already going on. But what's going to change is that the ability for education and their, of course, you have a critical race theory, but also just like in the state of Louisiana, the state passed the regulations that they have to have the 10 Commandments in the church. In the school system, like you got to have that in school. So that, again, is attacking diversity with anyone who believes besides Christianity. Next is the immigration, and I really tie this to the Black jobs comment made by Trump, because America will pretty much shut its doors to any immigrants. Keep in mind that the former president is married to an immigrant. Well, you say immigrant, but it's going to keep out anyone, and more names specifically are going to be Asian countries like China and Japan. And so they, going to kick out all the immigrants. Pretty much anybody that's not a permanent citizen will have to leave, and they're going to beef up the borders and have horse riding guards across the border. And then the last part is going to be free speech. And we can really tie this to the ANWO 3 case, because the ANWO 3 case is this prequel to this plan, is by creating a precedence of free speech in the manner that they're being falsely accused of. if they are successful with convicting the Hoover Three, they will have that precedent. So it's very important as we as people to need to organize, need to go ahead and have, you know, places like the ANWO Liberation Center to be able to organize, to be able to come in and hold different programs. Now, the last part is the that I'm going to discuss is the environment climate change. And so pretty much any environmental protection is going to be removed. And this is due to the big companies that we are going to experience this top down economics, as they say, where this a lot of the businesses that are public are going to be made private, including the Department of Education. So this was a very interesting, maybe you have to think about having a full program on the breakdowning of Project 2025. I don't have enough time, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up President Yejide, President of the African National Women's Organization. Welcome, Yejide.
Comrade, thank you so much for that very tight overview of Project 2025.
It's very, I'll try it.
But thank you. I just want to appreciate everybody who's watching us so far. And as we're posting in the chat, this is a fundraising webinar. I just want to remind everybody that you don't have to wait till the end of the program to make a donation. Our goal today is to raise the balance to get to $5,000. And at the top of the program, we said that the amount that we currently have is $2,660. And right now we need to raise $2,440. So whatever you can give in this moment would be really appreciated. And if you can't give anything because of whatever reason, please share this broadcast on your Facebook, on your YouTube. If you can make a clip real quick and throw it on Instagram, that'll be dope too. So we just want to make sure that you're aware that we really do really count on, you know, some of the our people to help us raise these resources to create this liberated space in the liberated territory that we are establishing for ourselves in St. Louis, Missouri. So one of the things that the outside of just this right-wing doctrine that has been put out by the white reactionary white nationalists to set the tone of what they're going to do in the first 90 days of presidency if Trump gets selected, is do all of these things. So that's one aspect of it, right? On the other aspect of it, we are already experiencing these economic attacks. This is why the tenet of dual and contending power is really important for the Uhuru movement. And so important for the Uhuru movement for us to understand that it's the community. Like, we are the ones who are responsible for creating everything that we need in our community, because the state doesn't do it. They're not going to do it. Whenever we get funding, they're going to try to undermine it. So we're going to talk a little bit about some economic attacks, and I'm going to try to speed through this just for the sake of time. So in St. Louis, the Uhuru movement is establishing liberated territory. These are just some of the projects that are being initiated by our sister organization, the African People's Education and Defense Fund, which talks about community that has community basketball, murals, community gardens, workforce program housing for re-entering Africans who are coming out of the prison system, Uhuru Jiko Kitchen and Cafe, which we now have a mini kitchen cafe, the African Doula Project, which is there that actually trained African women in St. Louis to become doulas, but how that transitions now into the African Women's Healthcare Center, which is also going to be another institution in St. Louis that is going to be specifically to infuse, health and wellness into our communities, a community that has been devastated by colonialism. So these are just some of the things that we've been working on. Not only ideas, these are locations on the north side of St. Louis. So, but the FBI, when they raided us through the attack against our movement, saying that our chairman and 3 other leaders of the movement were Russian agents, it didn't just end with that indictment that we currently are fighting. It continued with other attacks on our movement, which attacked our economic component, which is through the African People's Education and Defense Fund. So we are that actually attacked our businesses, attacked the money flow, called loans due immediately, so that hundreds of thousands of dollars that we had earmarked for different projects now had to be redirected to one project, and we have to now figure out how we're going to get these projects happening. So it hasn't stopped us, but it did throw a monkey wrench in our business. So the attacks that are happening with the Uhuru movement is just one element of that. But more than just the Uhuru movement, overall, what they are doing in terms of closing down our bank accounts, what that does for us is limit how we do business. If we can't bank, right, in their system, it limits how you're able to communicate. That's how you're able to send your money. And maybe we need to think about something outside of that. We're not there yet, but it also defers cash flow from one person to another. So how do we then support our projects if we don't have access to banking and being able to do things electronically? And even Decolonize Here in Body, which is one of our economic development projects, had our bank account closed, no reason given. I had to go to the bank, take my cash out, and find another bank so that we can do banking with banking with another bank. And we're up and running, and we're going to keep going because there's a whole bunch of options nowadays, obviously. Next slide. So in addition to just losing, when they call, our banks and they make them close and they call loans and things like that. Next slide. When they call loans and things like that, that requires us. Next slide, comrade. Okay. Boycott Regions Bank slide. That's where we are. So when we are, so what they did, one of the major attacks that they put on our movement was we have the Hurujiko kitchen, which requires a large sum of money, the big one that requires a large sum of money to redevelop an entire building that will be a fully fitted kitchen. It's the head of our workforce development program, and the loan was held for this project was held by Regions Bank. Regions Bank said, if you don't pay us our money, we're going to close out your loan. You can no longer pay us in increments. We're going to call the loan to question, and we need to pay it. And if you don't, you no longer, we're going to take the building, we're going to take all the money that you actually paid on this spot. And so there was a whole a boycott region. We were able to resolve it, but in that moment, we had to do nationwide protests against Regions Bank for making this call on a note that we've been doing business with them for over a decade, and they've obviously didn't care about our business. so we had to do protests around the country to show that this was happening to us as a part of the attacks on the Uhuru movement. There's also a funding cliff happening. If you're in the nonprofit sector, there are philanthropic organizations, foundations that have traditionally given to much of the social racial justice movement. And you might have been able to, or we might have been able to at one point, gotten some money from this organization or that funder or something like that, because we are doing the work that is necessary to organize our community. However, because of all of these attacks that are happening, and some people are running scared, but also the fact that all of the money that these social racial justice organizations are getting are from foundations, 4 or 5, that hold all of the inner workings of the social racial justice stuff that you can kind of see on the streets, people's jobs, grassroots organization depends on re-grants. So this top-down funding is not sustainable, and it's drawing down. We're seeing that. There's a crisis that is happening now. There are other things that these nonprofits are considering to to make sure that they can safeguard the money that they have, but also see other nuanced ways to get new resources. But the reality is that if we're looking outside of ourselves to get money, we ain't going to get the money that we need because none of it is self-sustainable. Yes, the white people should give us money. All these philanthropic organizations should give us money. Funders should give us money, but they're not, and they don't have to because that's white ruling class, and they're going to protect their interests at all costs, and they're going to fund what they're going to fund. And if you look at some of the funders on Project 2025, they're the same funders. Some of them are the same funders that have given to racial justice organizing. So, they're edging their bets and see which one ekes out, put a little money here, put a little money there. But instead, there's a funding cliff. There is not money flowing in the same old way when the protests and rebellions have happened around shootings of Africans in the streets, or people are discontented about another African being harmed, or the way that we are treated by police and things like that is not flowing like it did 2 years ago. So there's a major crisis in that area as well. So even when we fund ourselves, we have the Fearless Fund, which has been one of the biggest names out there of an organization of what they call themselves venture capitalists, which is a contradiction, obviously. But these are African women who have created a fund to fund African women entrepreneurs, and have been attacked by the so-called white nationalist right wing, and they're still in court battling against against the charges, which says that they're discriminating because they've done away with affirmative action, right? And so after they've done away with affirmative action, they're now saying that what Fearless Fund does in terms of specifically targeting minority women, so-called minority women, is against that of the Constitution. Keep going, Conrad. Next slide. Targeting minority women. So here we have African women who are fighting to continue to support and fund Black women entrepreneurs, but they're being attacked. And so that continues to impact also how money flows. If the white right continues to have money, because they have all the money, there's billionaires in that group, there's millionaires in the bourgeoisie, they got all the money, they can fund every single thing. How are we funding ourselves? So even if you have these venture capitalist firms, as they're and call them themselves, then they're shutting it down that way. The best way that we can support ourselves is direct. Next slide. And this is just another example of a federal judge that has ordered the U.S. Minority Business Agency to serve all races now that affirmative action is done away with. Next slide. So we are our own funders. I'm a New Yorker, so I have to put something like, we are our own funders. We are the ones who are responsible for making sure that the visions that we have for ourselves, the vision that we have for community, the vision that we have for the future, we're saying we want to be free. We don't just want to be free under capitalism. We don't want to maintain colonialism. We want to be free. And the best way to understand how we're going to be free after the revolution is to practice that right now. So when we're talking about creating liberated territories, imagine going down the street in St. Louis or in California or in New York or in Washington, D.C., and all you see in every single building is RBG flags, and this is the space. This is like a Black, I don't want to say Wall Street, that's a capitalist entity, right? It's rooted in the enslavement of our people. But we have this vision of creating liberated territory across the country, and we have the capacity in this moment to do this in St. Louis, and everybody can come and see practical work, buildings, institutions, organizing that is happening on that front as well. Next slide. You're on mute.
That is back to me. Yes, so at this time, we want to not only encourage you to donate, but just to let you know that you are not alone in this. We're not, we have sustaining donors, and I just wanted to take this time to thank our sustaining donors, which includes Chess Henry, MQ, Penny Hess, Lisa Davis, And then our 2024 donors, people have donated with us since January 1st up until today. We're grateful for everything that you do. And it's one big glaring one is missing. So I'm going to do that first. And as Chairman Amali Yeshatela and Deputy Chair Owner Janae Yeshatela, but also Wendy Craig, Aisha Fields, Leah Fifield, Ruby Gitzel's son, Latardis Johnson, Jabril Kaiser, Casey Mackey, Matsamela Odom, Catherine Riley, Sasha Sugarberry, and Andrea Zhang. If I miss you, please, if I miss your name, please send me email. I think that's everyone that I saw. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring President Yesterday back up, and we can make a quick fundraising call. Is there anybody watching this right now that wants to donate? No amount is too small in this goal. We need to raise $2,440 today. And this is, yesterday we go into the reason why this is our goal, but we have immediate need for the building that we were donated to. We were donated this building. We're looking to transform it, and we have a very immediate need. We do want this to be open by March of 2025. I don't want to steal yesterday's sunshine. So I'm going to go ahead and yesterday, whenever you
it will
ready.
Be open. So I just want to pause. I'm gonna do a radio silence for a minute, and I want to see anybody. If
there's anyone that's watching this on Facebook or YouTube that wants to donate or have already donated, I see that our wonderful moderators have the links in the chat. And if you've had some comments, can you just post those again? And moderators, are you all seeing any?
So, comrades, we can go ahead. I don't want to call people out and who's watching, but we have people watching us on Facebook, and we have you watching on. So we're saying that any amount is going to get us closer to our goal. We're going to keep pushing y'all. Any amount is going to do that. So if you are planning to pledge today, you can do so by letting us know the amount that you want to pledge in chat. We would really love to see that from you. You also want to be able to share, if you're willing, that you are able to donate toward this cause. That would be amazing. And anyone will do that to get us there. But we know we trying to meet tonight $22,440 to get us closer. And if you've already done a donation because we shared the link several times, then go ahead and take a look at go ahead and go right to the link. You ain't gotta say nothing, just go to the link.
Just go to the link.
Just make your donation, and we'll get your name off of that. That's the part that matters to us, and matters to the African National Women's Organization Liberation Center. So we're going to go ahead and transition to the video, and let me share.
Liberation Center is an ambitious initiative born from the vision to transform 4617 Natural Bridge Avenue into a vibrant facility. This space, generously donated by the African People's Education and Defense Fund, will become a working-class embassy, a hub for community empowerment, and a testament to the resilience of African people. Located at the heart of North St. Louis, a community deeply affected by centuries of colonial exploitation, our mission is clear: to uplift and empower. We acknowledge the stark realities of poverty, health disparities, and violence that plague our community. Our aim is to reverse these trends and create a thriving international hub for African people. But we can't achieve this vision alone. We need your support to bring this dream to life. Your donation toward our goal of raising $60,227 will fund the comprehensive rehabilitation of the property, including crucial steps like installing kitchen and bathrooms, full electrical upgrade, installing new plumbing, repairing the roof, reinforcing decks and fencing, and transforming the front facade. Why should you donate? Because every contribution brings us one step closer to providing working-class African women with a property of their own, a place where they can heal, organize, and thrive. Why are we doing this? Because we are committed to advancing the cause of African self-determination. Our center will provide vital cultural, social, and community spaces that celebrate African people and serve as a catalyst for change. Our vision includes creative and incubator residencies to nurture talent, community childcare to support families, and a safe place site to offer refuge and support. Additionally, as the headquarters of the African National Women's Organization, the center will serve as a national and local organizing space empowering African women and femmes in our struggles against the impact of colonial capitalism. Your support can make a profound difference in our efforts to uplift African women and femmes, empowering those who have been marginalized. Join us in our mission to strengthen our community, nurture resilience, and pave the way for a brighter, more equitable future. Together, we can ensure that the flame of African self-determination burns brighter than ever before. To donate and to learn more about the project, visit bit.ly/ANWO Center 1. The African National.
Well, here we are. Here we are talking about, we've got this video, it's inspiring, you've seen the property, what we are aiming for rehabilitating. One of the main things that we want to get started on, because we've had the property for about a year and a half and we want to get started. And one of the main things that we do need to work on to get started is our roof. But let's talk more about this idea of liberated territory. Next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, the Black Power Blueprint in North St. Louis is littered on West Florissant with 12 current projects. One is the Uhuru House, which serves as the base for our movement. We have the Black Power Blueprint project that's also on, sorry, I'm going down. Karibu, the garden that's right across the street from the Uhuru House, which also houses our huge RBG flag. We have number 3, our Gary Brooks Garden, which is the garden also. Karibu is the event space that's in the garden. And then we have the Black Power West Florissant, 4029 West Florissant, Future Black Power Blueprint Project number 4, which is also going to potentially be a new location for our Hoover House. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure out what that building is going to be, but it's a bigger space. We have more community that can come in. It's going to be amazing. We have another project at 4007-09 West Florissant, number 5. You can see it on the map. And then we have 4001 West Florissant, a Future Black Power Blueprint. These are buildings that we are acquiring because the community has been so devastated, economically deprived, that the community has been left to deteriorate. So we have these amazing buildings that need to be rehabilitated all throughout North St. Louis, but the cities allow the buildings to crumble, and we are recapturing that space for our community. We're going to create beautiful spaces, event spaces, active spaces, economic spaces for our community to enjoy. So when we have addresses, but not a project associated with it, that still doesn't mean it. That means that eventually it will become a project that our community can enjoy. We're going to have the Black Power Square, which is a shipping container market, where young businesses can have an actual I want to say brick and mortar, but if we talk about shipping containers, it won't be brick and mortar. It'll be a shipping container storefront that will be in our little market. This has happened in other places around the country where African people have used this idea to create economic development for our community. So it's a transition from the One Africa, One Nation market that we currently do every month to somebody who was able to afford the rent at a shipping container to do their business on a more steady basis. And then I'm just going to skip past all the ones that have addresses only, but we do have actual projects at number 9, Black Power Blueprint, Vanguard Basketball Court, and we're having this summer a basketball team there, sponsored by the Black Power Blueprint called the Black Power Vanguard. So we're excited about that. And then we have on number 10, we have a rehabilitated building that's dedicated to housing re-entering Africans coming out of jail, male and female, and putting them to work, giving them the skills, or if they come out of prison with these skills, in the Uhuru Jiko Bakery and Kitchen. We currently have, and the big one, but also now that we have the smaller one, because the big one has been undermined in a certain kind of way, we have to do something to raise the money now for the big one. So we have initiated the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe, which is number 12. And that is where we're going to have a smaller iteration of the big Jico kitchen, where our workforce development comrades coming out of prison will be able to work as well. And number 11, we're going to have the Uhuru Wakulia Women's Health Center. So all of these projects are along West Florissant Corridor, creating that liberated territory for African people. Next slide. So for us, our next phase for us at our 4617 Natural Bridge Avenue, the $15,000 that we need in total. So we trying to get to $5,000 tonight, but $15,000 by the end of the month, and we're going to get there through a process of touching on our donors, reaching out to our community, and other strategies that we may not have yet employed. But we're going to get to that $15,000, right? But tonight we're only asking us to get us to the $5,000, which will, and I want to just I just want to also just acknowledge the pledges that we've gotten so far. We have Wives Society, who said that they're going to be making $250 donation on the 12th. And we want you, Wise, I don't know who you are in real life because I don't recognize the name, but if you can, just email us at info@anwouhuru.org so that we can keep in touch with you, and really appreciate you for making that donation to us. And of course, please just go ahead and do it on the 12th when you're able. Christina Laster also said that she is going to donate $250 and can pay that also on the 12th. And is Christina and Wise the same person? And if they are, then we just resolved it. Zaid Wadisa, who's a member of our IEC and who will be on a little bit later in our program, just donated $10. And if we have any other donors on the chat, on YouTube, on Facebook, please just share how much you are able to donate with us, because that also helps us tally up what we can expect from this webinar and what we have more left to raise. So, but the roof is not on fire, but it does need to be replaced. As you can see, the first image on the left is a satellite image of our roof. And as you can see from the properties right next to it, how awful our roof is. It has been pretty good up until now, not letting in much water. But as we know, as the roof deteriorates and water and other elements gets into the property, then that can create more damage that we don't want to have happen, so that we don't have another thing that we have to fix. You know what I mean? So very priority to us is to get this roof fixed. And so the satellite image versus the actual image on the right, this is what our roof looks like. Next slide. And just more images of our roof. As we can see, it's not in a good condition. So next slide after this. So after we get our roof repaired, which we plan on doing by the end of the month, our second phase is to raise $30,000 by the end of November. So this gives us a lot more time, a lot more space to raise this amount of money and look at deeper pockets that we can approach to make this happen, help us make this a reality. And what this money will do will allow us to have do more demo, because we have plans. We're working with a designer. We're working out what the design is going to look like. That's the fun part. But we're going to have to knock down a few more walls and readjust some spaces to make sure that we can do what we want to do. Nothing fancy. We're trying to make this a usable space, but also a nice space. So we're going to need to do additional demo. We have to do framing. We're going to get all new electrical wiring because we now have knob and tube wiring. We have to install HVAC and heat, install plumbing. So all of these things are necessities to make this a working building. So it's not like this section is also going to be like some fancy, high-tech piece, but we want to be able to have people come into our building, feel comfortable, be able to use the facility and do all the things that we need to do. Plus, our space is also going to be a meeting space, right? We're going to be using this on the bottom level as a meeting space for our community, an organizing space. A kitchenette will be down there. We'll have facilities for bathrooms and storage and audio, visual things that will help us and help people who rent our space, because our space is also going to be a self-sufficient. Our goal is to be 100% self-sufficient. So the space will pay for itself. Next slide. So the phase 3 then is the finishing touches. After we get all of the services installed, this is where we're going to really, more than just the resources that we're asking, we're going to need hands-on sweat equity from ourselves and others. And this is the fun part, because I don't know about you, I do watch HGTV. I've actually had projects at my own home that I like to get my hands dirty, and it really helps me understand more about like how to create and how to build for myself. It teaches me a skill. And this is going to be that point where we call on our community to help us. If you're skilled and if you can teach these skills to others so that we can offset some costs that we can avoid if we bring the community together to help make the space what it needs to be. And I drywall before, I painted before, and I'm sure that some of you have too in your own lives. So we also want to install in this last section kitchens and bathroom fixtures. We want to reinforce our decking, paint the exterior if we can, and just basically just make the space whole. Because in March, we're not having a convention like we do every year. In March, we are going to have a grand opening. So right now we're taking it in phases, taking it in bites. Our first phase is the roof. We're gonna get that done by the end of this month with your help. And we're gonna make it happen. Ooh, next slide. I think at this point we bring up our comrades. I want to bring up our comrades in the IEC. Please come on up, y'all. Please come on up, y'all. Come on up. And I need to change my name because I didn't realize that I was up here as ANWO Uhuru, but you need to know who I am because you know I do already. So we are missing a comrade. Oh, here we go. So I'm gonna let the comrades introduce themselves and their position on the IEC. Uhuru.
Go ahead, Nicole. You next in my window
Hi,
anyhow.
hi everybody. I'm Nicole Chung. I am the secretary, and I'm welcome.
All right, Hadai, you next. I'm going to order my window. Hadai.
Hi, I'm Hadai. I am the coordinator for the PE and self-defense and the War Council.
And to her, my name is Zaid Vodisa. I'm located in California, and I am over membership and recruitment for the African National Women's Organization.
All right, and now reintroduce myself in case you missed me in the beginning. I'm Coco Lewis. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator of ANWO, based out in the Midwest chapter, based out of Cleveland, Ohio.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, comrades, we are, what do you, I mean, before I think I kind of did the fundraising pledge, ask again, but let's hear from our RAC
Yes,
about why
let's.
folks should donate to this project. Why is it so important to you? And then we'll also pick it up at the end of the next section too.
Mhm. I just think it's important for us to have a space as African women that we can come into. I mean, we do a lot of political education with cadres. We go into that later on, but we do a lot of political education, just knowing the type of conventions and activism and action that was done by our elders and our ancestors. I just want to be able to continue that legacy and having a place for African women everywhere to be able to come is just a great resource.
I think it's really great for us to have something that is for us by us, African women led, African women designed, African women built. I think that is a beautiful thing. And even if we get help from our gentlemen comrades, for us to be leading out in this, I think is such a big impact in our community and for our community. I know I'm a mommy of one, and for her to be able to watch us go through this project the way that we are, it's just the coolest thing. And being where we are will be there. It will be there for a long time. And I think that's not just a lasting impression, but it provides a safe space for us and for our children and inevitably for our people.
I was going to say the same thing. It is a safe space for African women to gather and to share and to just know that when you walk through those doors, it's you and your sisters, and you're free to actually have meaningful conversations without worrying about being interrupted and having people not quite understand you. This is a place for African women to be able to call home to some degree.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too repetitive. I definitely unite with it being a safe space. There are a number of things that, as African women, we face, and we know that the state is not safe. Any state institution, whether it be a hospital, the court, the police, just being able to have a place to be able to strategize, because ultimately what we're saying is we want to overturn this system, and without having to get together and host meetings without like wondering if they're listening in the next door over, the next table over, just really being able to come together, strategize, look at what's happening in the community of St. Louis, and how we can begin to overturn some of these contradictions.
Yeah, I think it's really important too to say that none of us live in St. Louis. That's the thing. But we will be there. We're going to organize there. We're going to have people there. The goal is to make this a self-sustaining economic development institution. So the people that's going to be there are going to be our members. So this is going to be a building for our members. It's going to be a building not only for African women, but the community. The community can use the space. It's led by us. We're going to be doing programs out of there that are focused on African women. But this is a community space. We're going to have residencies for people who need office space, because that's hard too to get. We're going to have a meeting space downstairs that people can use for anything. And if the movement wants, the movement can have space, in our building. So this is a really critical thing, because if we look at the landscape of St. Louis right now, when we talk about independent economic self-determination, self-fulfilled buildings and projects, like the Uhuru movement is doing it. Like the Uhuru movement is creating these spaces that we create for ourselves, for our people. You know what I mean? And other buildings ain't owned by the people who are inhabiting them. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really huge thing, because part of what we say, as an attack on African people in this country has been one that has been deeply economic, right? People have been divested of the resources that they have through the housing crash that happened years ago, through the stealing of land, through all manners of theft of African people's resources, whatever we were able to muster up after being generationally enslaved in this country has been stolen from us. Our children don't have any anticipation of getting anything from us because not like they ever did, but still, no, generation after generation, we are struggling to establish that, right? People talk about generational wealth. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about generational revolution, extending this beyond, some self-satisfactory and massaging our own ego. We are trying to establish a legacy of revolution that goes beyond us, that we have a center that we can actually do this organizing in. We're going to do it anyway, but to have a location that is, we can say, and I'm putting my hands on my hip, you can't see, owned by the African National Women's Organization, which means it's owned by African women everywhere. Point blank period, right? So I tried to do the St. Louis. They don't like that. But period. But even if you don't live it, so I mentioned the fact that we don't live there because even if we don't live there, it's still our stuff. When you come to St. Louis, because you're gonna be there more often once we get this Liberation Center come on now. We're gonna have Cadre School there, we're gonna have ANWO Women Conventions there, we're gonna have retreats there. Come on now, y'all. Y'all gonna be up in there. This is gonna be our liberated space to conduct the things that we can do in person because we already know that the threat is out there. It's real, it's around us, it's in our phones, it's on our watches, it's all these things. And now having a space that's contained where we can actually plot and organize, strategize amongst ourselves is really important. So I just wanted to say all that. There's more to the agenda, but I wanted to say all that and see if the comments had anything else to say, but I know we're gonna move along.
No, I think we should go ahead and, I didn't see any new pledges come through. I've been looking here and resharing to my network. So if you are viewing, make sure you share this to your network, because even if you may not have the funds or but you understand what and can relate to what we're asking for and what we're trying to establish, send it to your network, send it to your friends, send it to your family. This is a donation to social justice. And we have it, and it is a tax deductible donation to social justice. So, if that's people that are, always looking to donate to reduce their taxable income. Sorry, my HR is my daytime job. Make sure that you send it over to your family and friends who may be interested or looking to make a tax deductible donation. So with that, we're going to go into our current programs of ANWO. This includes our tenants. I consider our tenants. So political action is it's a tenet of ANWO. It is what we do. It's the actual protest, the solidarity, the alliances that we make, and the other programs that we're in. Our outreach are all part of that political action. So first, I want to go ahead and bring up President yesterday again. So the IEC is going to remain.
They're gonna remain. I'm gonna spotlight me just so I won't. I'm gonna share my own screen, Comrade Coco. Okay. That's all right. And then the comrades might have their own slide as well, but we're gonna go into. So ANWO, I'm gonna spotlight me for just a second. ANWO was invited to participate in the 3rd International Women's Alliance Conference that was held in Penang, Malaysia, last month. And that was an honor, obviously, because ANWO has been as a part of the International Women's Alliance, which is an alliance of anti-imperialist women's organization throughout the world. We are part of EWA, the acronym is EWA USA, and the organization itself is primarily based in the Pacific, right? The Pacific corridor, the South Asian corridor is rooted in the Filipino struggle. But there are other organizations that represent different women's organizing and struggles as a part of that as well. And so that's why ANWO was invited. And that's why ANWO spoke on a panel. So so that was amazing for us to be in a room with other women who are, number one, currently engaged in an armed struggle. Like, that's critical. There's women who are gearing up for armed struggle as a part of their national liberation piece. There are other women who are just trying to, organize around that to get people to the place where they can make the armed struggle. Because fundamentally, everybody needs to make armed struggle. There's no expectation that capitalism is a valid system, that it works for anybody, and particularly people who have been oppressed and beaten down by it, including African people. So my responsibility, the slides are showing, that I was making a presentation. I was on a panel with a few other comrades from different places in Thailand, Malaysia, Palestine, Kurdistan, and basically just talking about what the struggle is for African women and sharing our issues. One of the things that really trigger people in the room, and I get this all the time, we think this question of CPS, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, is our own problem in the United States, but it manifests itself so many different ways internationally. Everybody unites with it, right? Because it's fundamentally genocide. It's fundamentally genocide, stealing children from one group and doing it to another, breaking up entire families. This is a genocidal act that is committed in different variations throughout the world. So that was one of the things that we talked about in our presentation. And another thing that we wanted to help people understand was the question of the African nation, like who we are as African people. Because even in the space where we have revolutionaries and anti-imperialists, the idea is still like we're like Black Americans, right? That or that we are racially different, or there's this idea that race and we're different from the Africans who are on the continent, that our struggles are not linked and intertwined, and really just dispelling that. Like the question of just going through the history of the attack on Africa, what it did to African people as a whole, and how that manifests today through domestic colonialism and direct colonialism and neocolonialism. And so that's really important to share and also talk about the practical projects that we're working on, what we've done in the realm of organizing skilled and unskilled laborers through the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project, what we've done to organize economic development programs and projects practically on the ground, because we're practicing revolution at this point through our Black Power Blueprint and African Doula projects, what we've done through the work of Impedum and all the African women who are a part of the party and making political struggles throughout the years. So just showing that to this group, but also recognizing that our voice is absent. Right. And we talk about these international discussions around Africa. People don't consider Africa because there's 54 different Africans. And so our responsibility as the African National Women's Organization is represent the collective voice of African people, even though there's struggles happening all over the place, right? In the African world. But the fundamental thing for African people is that we got to get free. We have to overturn colonialism. We got to destroy this monster that has kept us in this state of crisis and violence since it attacked us. And that's fundamentally what was communicated at this conference. And, by all accounts, people were, really appreciative of that analysis. And that really shows that we have to be in these spaces. So being a part of the African National Women's Organization as a member, as a supporter, you were in Malaysia with me. Your resources, your support of this organization allowed me to be there talking on an international scale about African women. And when in an anti-colonial, anti-imperialist context, When does that happen? You know what I mean? So I think that that's really important for that trip to Malaysia. And I'm gonna skip on through because my other comrades are gonna share in a minute about the work that they're responsible for. But for the CPS work, as I just mentioned before, really hits home with people all the time. And I'm gonna ask my comrade Nicole to share the spotlight with me. And you are a spotlight, even though you can't tell. But RSCPS is our major campaign for the African National Women's Organization. It has been one of our major campaigns since 2017. And it really is the campaign that does a lot for the work that we do. Like it really hits at home strategically at the colonial question, the capitalist question. Capitalist production is the stealing of people and using people as factories to create new people, right? And stealing those people and using those bodies as the way that you hold capital, trade capital. Because in the United States, African people were the first money.
And now,
Before there was paper notes, they would hold African babies as interest on loans because that African's gonna grow up and become a worker on somebody's farm. Yeah. Are you gonna say something, Comrade Nicole?
I was just gonna say it is literally modern day slavery, and they're holding our children, and our children are our future. And the reason why this campaign is one of our most powerful campaigns is that our children are our future. And if we don't have them because they're being ripped from our homes, where does our future lie? And so being able to be a part of this campaign has been life-changing and impactful. And one of the reasons why building what we are building is so very important. Giving a safe space, it goes back to the safe space for families to be able to come in, share their stories with us, get in a place where we can have a plan of action. We are the plan of action. And the statistics we have, and if we continue on with the slide, we had this campaign where we were putting statistics up in our own cities, and just educating people. And some of the feedback that we got as we were doing it from people that said, I thought I knew this, but seeing it like this is unbelievable. We have to start to raise awareness, and this is a beautiful way to do it. And if we can have our own space, families that are being impacted can come in and have a place to just get together and plan for what do we do next. It's very important. We also had another campaign where we did this veil dropping, and also very powerful. A Black child was kidnapped today. A lot of people don't realize it's not the child welfare system, it's the child policing system. And it is very strategic because although we don't make up in numbers, we make up in the percentage of the Black and brown children that are being taken away in the homes compared to any other ethnicity group.
And that's just a cross section too. Like this hits at so many things. Just general policing, safety. You think you go into a hospital for safety, you have a problem with your child, you bring them in for maybe a scratch or a sore or something. You are now being policed in the hospital, place that you're supposed to go for help and aid. And so like it's critical that we know that this piece is like rooted in capitalism, right? Like, so we can see this image and be like, yeah, we know that happened, but somehow because of capital colonialism rebranding itself over and over and over again, we forget that colonialism did not get destroyed. So what it did is it transformed itself. It now went from saying that you Black women are going to take care of my children. And when Black women started saying, I don't want to work in your house no more, then that's when the uptick of policing our communities became a trend. They're going to get you one way or the other, right? So they're going to have you tied up in this system. Black power was rising. Black women were one of the main rank and file members of Black power movements and organizations. We were in them streets, and they started to do these counterintelligence provisions that of which the family policing system is, to destroy, that web of strength and vitality that was once prevalent in our communities when we were talking about getting liberation. So, so as a part of our, go ahead, Conrad.
Oh, I also want to talk about just briefly what happens after. Then there's our young people that go into the foster system, and your average young person from the age of 18 to 24 is worth $4,000 to $5,000 in a month, but they don't see that money. And again, they are the biggest percentages are our Black and our brown children, and then they're held to these unrealistic standards to live by after they have been raised in the system and away from our communities. It is wild. So it just goes back to what you were just saying.
And what we're doing is raising an awareness around the country around this issue. And together with other organizations who are also honed in on family policing and eradicating it, having so many strategies, policy, street organizing, and other ways that they're influencing popular opinion around the idea that family regulation or the CPS, child welfare system, is actually a place where people can get help, and that children are safe. They are not safe in the system. And our goal is to continue to make that struggle and continue to grow our movement. Thank you, Comrade Nicole. Oh, and I'm gonna let Nicole, you want to say something more about Kayla? I spelled her name wrong.
Yeah, she's just one of our mothers that in this fight to get her kids back. Like, the system came in, took her kids, and well, no, I'm sorry, Kayla. I got the wrong mom.
Yeah.
Right now, we are assisting Kayla. She got placed under arrest and put into jail because she was trying to protect her child from a father that was abusive. And now they have let her go, but she has to come back. She has a trial here and in Tennessee. And just from trying to protect her child, the dad is a white male. He came in and basically was like, I want my property back, went to a different state, put her on trial in a different state, and was able to take her kid. And now she's fighting for her free, not just her child, but for her freedom. It sounds a lot like me, like the slave master said, I want my child back. I want my property back. And I'm going to go above you and everybody else, even though he has a abusive background. There's plenty of evidence against him that he has not been the most fit father or partner, yet here she is fighting for her life. We have literally her life. And so me and the comrades in San Diego have been on the floor at her hearings just as a support system. And we're going to try to elevate this as big as we can so that we can get her home and to her child.
Yeah. Girl. Thank you, Conrad. And then I keep thinking I'm done, but I'm not. So Red CPS abroad. So we want to expand this campaign abroad. It's our goal to help people understand that the family policing system as we know it in this country, when we first started at Red CPS, we were in Sweden, we were in England, we were in the US. This is not happening just here. And so when we look at how it represents itself in the world, is illegal kidnapping of children, is the child trafficking rings, fake adoptions, all of these things. And we've seen stories, and we know the conditions that many African women are forced into, and African communities are forced in. When you're ravaged by war, you don't have resources. If you have a child, you don't want your child to grow up in there. So you think, oh, they're going for a better life. And you hope that you know that you're going to see them again, but you're not seeing them again. They've been stolen, they've been kidnapped, and you're never going to have access to your child again because nobody's telling you anything. And that's the confusion that the imperialists cause. And so, you know, we've heard about the story after the Haitian earthquake, where these. I was actually looking at a WikiLeaks. It's in the notes here, where before these savages went to Haiti, they sent a letter to Hillary Clinton, email, telling her exactly what they were going to do. They was going to go down there, gather up all the homeless and orphan children by the earthquake out of the streets and take them into the Dominican Republic with no regard for trying to find out who or where they belong to. It was absolutely ridiculous. And we saw that they got caught doing that by the Haitian officials at the time. And they all released. They have no jail time. But we see that this is happening all over the world in different iterations. And the work that we're doing with the Arrest CPS is going to be expanding to represent that. Thank you, comrades. So hands off Uhuru. Am I doing all of these? Okay, yes, I should be shutting up in a minute. So hands off Uhuru. As we've been saying all along, our movement has been targeted by the FBI, Department of Justice. Our chairman is the primary target of this attack, being charged with being a Russian agent. And then we have our comrades, Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, who are also leaders in the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which is a section of our movement that's under the leadership of the party. And they're all going to trial to defend their lives against the U.S. government and to defend our right, the U.S.'s implied right to free speech, to raise any criticisms that we can of a government that does not serve us, which is what is ingrained in the U.S. Constitution, right? So essentially, this is a constitutional battle that if we should lose, right, if what we're doing is challenging the right to free speech, right? What we're doing is saying that you said, U.S. government, that we should be able to talk about whatever we want to talk about as long as it's talking. And what the U.S. government is saying, you ain't talking, that you're actually doing some stuff that is your talk can be considered action, which doesn't make sense. So we're challenging this and we're raising this struggle for everybody who is an activist, an organizer, who uses this First Amendment right to free speech. And so we're putting down the work to really lead an anti-colonial free speech movement. So there are three things that we're asking folks to do. To come to Tampa during this trial. It is expected to last a month. It starts September 3rd. And you can go to handsoffuhuru.org to find out more about the campaign, get all the materials, find out all the information. It's a well-organized site with all the information about what you can see, all the motions. You can see the motion to dismiss. You can see the rebuttals. All of these things are on the website, so you can get brushed up on the campaign. But we're asking folks to come to St. Petersburg and support our comrades as they fight not only for their lives, right, but as they fight for, the right to have the democratic right to free speech. And then if you are able to, if you can't come, or even if you can come, if you're interested, we need to have some of these committees filled as a part of the Hands Off Uhuru campaign. So we want you to join the dynamic anti-colonial campaigns. And of course, you can go to handsoffuhuru.org to find out more information about that. So I'm going to hand it over to my comrade Zaid to talk about her experience.
Before Zaid comes up, I want to do a quick fundraising update. So we are currently at $2,970 pledged. So we're on our way. We need $1,030 in order to make our goal. So we're getting there. We have a $5,000. I'm sorry. Yeah. Did I do the math right? No, we need $2,030 in order to make our goal. So we're getting there. We got more programs to come. So yeah, with that, I want to go ahead and spotlight Zaid, President Gajade. Keep donating. Every amount helps. We need this roof. We need this roof. Okay, everyone.
Building. We need the whole building, but the roof is the starting point. Here we go. And your donations are helping us get it. I'm excited. I was doing one of them old school dances from the 90s. I forget what this is called, but you know, for my comrades who are donating and supporting us, let's continue to do that. Share with your community.
So yes, keep the donations coming in. And I'm just going to talk about a little bit what I experienced this past weekend. So this past weekend, ANWO, now that we are a member of the International Women's Alliance, was invited to mobilize here in San Diego against the 2024 RIMPAC maritime exercises in solidarity with the Hawaii-based campaign against the Rim of Pacific, also known as RIMPAC exercises. So RIMPAC was created in 1971 by the United States, Australia, and Canada. And it was created as a response to the Cold War. So you had small island nations were now on the front lines to protect the trade routes of these countries. And the event used to be an annual exercise, but because it had become so big, about time 1974 rolled around, it had turned into like this biannual event. So today there are currently 27 current countries a part of RIMPAC, and it still functions the same today to control the trade routes in the region and to basically show U.S. military dominance in the Pacific. And the U.S. uses RIMPAC to strengthen the abilities of these 26 allies, their militaries, to wage wars of aggression around the world. And, you know, as threats of war between major military powers continue to rise, you know, that's when we're going to see the heighten, like, as we're saying, like, all these things are crumbling, and we're talking about, you know, this Project 2025. And, you know, as the crisis deepens, we're going to see the worst of it. So the exercises themselves expand from San Diego all the way to the Hawaiian Islands. So nearly a third of the Pacific Navy fleet will launch from San Diego, and it will go to attend these RIMPAC maritime war games in June and July. So San Diego being this military playground, we have a Marine Corps air station here, and then also 3 naval bases. So there was a RIMPAC summit that was held this past Saturday, the 29th, at the University of California in San Diego. The focus of that being, you know, the effects of the militarization of the local population, and of women, and the environment that this has on the climate. The African People's Socialist Party did hold 2 workshops, around African liberation, and we were able to showcase the Uhuru 3 case. The weekend was summed up with the mass mobilization on Sunday, which started in downtown San Diego, and we marched to the USS Midway aircraft carrier, which is this huge naval ship that sits in downtown San Diego, one of the many you know, US military ships. And it was very informing for me to like sit and to live here in San Diego, and I pass these things on a daily basis. I kind of just like block them out and have tunnel vision, because it is like, it's a big symbolism, a big symbol of colonialism, a big symbol of imperialism, and I kind of just block it out. But to really to sit with it and to hear like the things that the city partakes in, especially with Israel being one of the nations that partakes in this, and our countries back and forth right now with the genocide in Palestine. So just highlighting the fact that RIMPAC leads to environmental destruction, the violence against women, and it becomes a gross neglect to the day-to-day needs of the people. So ANWO unites, you know, in our position to oppose the militarization of the Hawaiian Islands and the wars, you know, from this continent and the 26 other, you know, imperialist nations that go on to forward colonialism. So, Uhuru.
I just want to come in real quick, because I just for the sake of time, I also had to remove some things from the agenda. But this week in Washington, D.C., where I live, near around, and all of NATO, heads of state is meeting in Washington, D.C. to celebrate 75 years of imperialist aggression. And yesterday they had a people summit with all of the people who are in opposition to them, organizations who are aligning with themselves. And there was a protest also today in the streets of Washington, D.C. But the meeting for NATO is going to be on July 9th to the 11th. And the expectation is it's going to be many different protests to their existence in Washington, D.C., the seat of U.S. imperialism. And again, ANWO unites with this because NATO is a part of the imperialist aggression that continues to happen to our people. While there's no official NATO in Africa, there is NATO activity happening in Africa. There's colonial activities happening in Africa. There's militarism that's happening in Africa. We can see what's happening in Africa right now. And please do not make any mistake whatsoever that this is all a part of the same imperialist monster that is destroying our people and creating this organization and crises so that they can take what they want, from us. So we also unite with this call to destroy NATO, and essentially when we make the call to destroy NATO, what we're really making the call to is overturn colonial capitalism and get our people free. So we're going to bring up our next comrade.
Karen Hada.
Hi.
Ada.
I'm Hada, as they already told you, and I'm responsible again for ANWO's safety and security team, as well as ANWO's War Council. We created our security detail to basically address the increasing violence against African women on all fronts, kind of like what Coco was saying earlier. Our prime goal is to provide political education to African women that will contextualize violence as a symptom of colonial oppression. We want to train African women to defend themselves against colonial violence, both horizontal and vertical, and to help African women determine the best course of action when faced with colonial violence, and of course, to win membership into ANWO. And these members can become a part of the solution. Eventually, our members in good standing can join ANWO's War Council. The War Council is meant to address the escalating disproportionate levels of violence in our communities and develop programs for community safety and defense. We want to provide African women and femmes with the tools and resources necessary to protect our communities as well as ourselves. The War Council requires specific training for protection details and response teams. A few of our goals are to create community patrols. We want to offer weapons training for all ANWO members and interested ANWO women forces who are not in ANWO yet. Not only do we need monetary donations, but we need donations of time. In order to hold these classes and programs, we need instructors who are willing to offer no or low-cost training. So if you're an instructor or if you know of one, please contact us. You can go on ANWOUhuru.com and get our contact information. And the last thing I think before I go is I want to let everybody know about our Fit for the Fight challenge. I'm really excited that we launched a fun and friendly fitness challenge to encourage everybody to stay active and healthy. A few of the details, the challenge duration is 4 weeks. The goal is to increase our daily physical activity and improve our overall fitness. So what we want everybody to do is track your progress by keeping a journal, share your progress with the ANWO community by using the hashtag ANWO Fitness Challenge on social media. So yeah, let's all just get fit for the fight together. Uhuru.
I was trying to, there was a goal for me at my age to get this running together. And I sadly did not make the goal today with my day to get, so by the end of this 4 weeks, y'all, your president is gonna be ready to outrun and be fit to fight some imperialism, colonialism, and all the things. I might be able to take off a building too,
Let me say
the hashtag Fit Up, Fight Back.
Right, that's good. And if you get our newsletter, the information is also in our newsletter, so you can check it out there as well.
And you even included a fitness form, so it's like it's not just to to say like, oh, I did it, put it on social media. I mean, you'll be able to track your progress. And I think that's the most important part, because I have barely been walking lately. Now, yesterday, I put my son on his scooter that he got for his birthday, and we took a walk, and I forgot how good it felt to like move my body. I've been pretty much sitting at work all the time,
That's the thing too.
or
That's the thing too. The
lifting.
ANWO Liberation Center is that place, y'all. We're gonna have
Yes.
at ANWO. Imagine, comrades,
Saturday morning yoga.
African women lining up on that sidewalk, ready to do them squats on the street. Not to the street. The butts are gonna be toward the buildings. We're gonna do squats, and we're gonna show the community we out here trying to get fit, and then we're gonna go inside. We're gonna take it inside. You know what I mean? So like, this is a place, right? This is a place for fun, not just organizing can be fun, but like a place for camaraderie, and to like really implement some on the ground, not only making a building a liberated space and territory, but through the Security and Safety War Council, making the community a safe zone, right?
Absolutely.
Because we're organizing and training ourselves and other women to be trained security apparatus forces that protect ourselves and our community for real. So.
All right. So then that brings us up again yesterday with discussing political education. We tag team this again. Did you want to share? Or you want me to share?
You can share.
Okay.
I don't think so. I didn't have a slide for cadre school. I just wanted to talk about cadre school because one of the things that we've been doing for the last 2 years is having cadre development school, which is focused on organizing and training our own membership, because we want our membership to know what they're representing, to get unified on language and ideology, because we have a singular ideology in order to be a movement that is struggling for something. We don't, even though we're not the party, like we don't want people to say that you come here and you act like the party or whatever you understand that to be. But we should have shared language. Like we should know together that we're fighting colonialism, that we are African women, despite where we may be born, that US imperialism and colonial capitalism is at the basis of why we are in the conditions and struggling against the things that we're struggling against. And cadre school does that, gives us the historical background of why things are happening to us. It gives us a history of struggle so that we know that we could place ourselves in this struggle in the timeline of all the struggles that African people have been making, and that this African National Women's Organization is a continuation of other work that has been done over the course of time to get our people free. And that you must join organization. You can, once you register for this class, once the registration is open, you can use that. If you're not a member, you can become a member. And if you are a member, then you can learn more about the organization that you belong to. So we're really excited about doing it every single year. It's a great opportunity for political education in a condensed form. It usually happens on Saturday or Sunday morning for 2 hours over the course of 6 weeks. So it's not a super heavy lift virtually, but really I do want it to be a heavier lift because the times are demanding that it's going to need to be heavier. And that means that when we get this ANWO Liberation Center together, these cadre schools are going to be in person. They're going to be about getting fit for the fight in the mornings. It's going to be about intense political education. And it's going to be about practical application of the things that we learn while we are sitting there talking to one another about the conditions. And I look forward to that. Uhuru.
Uhuru. I just want to add into that how, as someone who's been through a couple cadre schools, how it makes me more comfortable talking to people in my family and my sister most recently, saying, you just sit down somewhere and soon somebody talks to you, then all of a sudden you breaking down politics to them. And she was like, I admire that. And that made, and that makes me feel good that I am, being the vanguard and being an example to my community and my family, being able to organize, because I've been through, cadre school. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Anybody else want to comment on cadre school before
I just want to shout out Unifa, Earth
Right.
Young,
Oh, yeah.
Comrade,
Thank you, Umi. I was wondering where that
Revolutionary.
$50 came from.
You know what I'm saying? We want to thank out the Comrade for making a donation. And I know we haven't been doing a very good job acknowledging all of the donations that have come in so far. We're going to catch up toward the end of the program.
Yeah.
Make sure that we acknowledge everyone who has donated to us during this process, and we really appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to you coming to the ANWO Liberation Center too, Comrade, and seeing the liberated territory that we're creating. And I missed you in Brooklyn. I wish I was there this weekend. I would have loved to just check out your space, because this Comrade has a space too in Brooklyn, which she liberated for African children.
Yes.
So I really, I just really, big up this Comrade, Uhuru.
And a new cafe. She has a new cafe too.
Listen, I didn't know that.
School.
I ain't know all that, but now I want to
So Umi is doing the thing, and I appreciate her support. Zaya, I think you were wanted to say something. Did you? You can wave me off if it's no.
Yeah, it was about cadre school. I think I've done 2 or 3, and I look forward to them each and every time. And just being able to, it's important for us to deepen our political understanding, and to echo what Coco said, arms you a little better to go out into the world and, be able to pull other African women into this also important work. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Go ahead.
So no, I wanted to say one thing about cadre school. I went into cadre school kicking and screaming, and I am so glad I was able to actually do it. I learned so much, and I think that if anybody is interested, they should absolutely join cadre school. It will just explode your mind. It's awesome.
So stay tuned. It will likely be after the trial. Later in the year, but stay tuned for announcements around cadre school 2024.
And I can't wait till we have it at the ANWO Liberation Center, to be honest, because we be there in person, because, ever since, we've been doing these virtually, which is all fair and well, but it's something about being in a collective energy and you learning together. And we'll be able to, we always struggle with getting up early in the morning, but when you're in person, it is a collective pressure to hey, let's get in here, do this, and it may not just be on Saturdays. We may just have it as a week intensive that we come in, and have cadre school on the weekend.
If we're coming in person, we're gonna be there, it's not gonna be on a Saturday.
Not on a Saturday, but in person.
Yes, we're gonna be dedicated to some time. Yes,
and we can do more of the things that we talk about, as far as the physical fitness, because we do have to be fit for the fight. And I think that's a lot of the ways that we kind of is easier to prioritize the non-physical things in life, but being able to come together and you got Gajade doing 60 push-ups a minute. And I'm struggling with 6. I'm struggling with 6. We got it. That's that peer pressure to at least give me.
I want to see it on video.
She lying. I can't do, but we're gonna get there. Is what we're trying to say. I don't.
Yeah, we gonna get there. Yeah,
I could do some crunches, push-ups. But I want to just recognize Key Finger for making a pledge of $20 that they will pay by July 15th. So just want to thank you, Key Finger, for that pledge. And because we don't know your real name on here, if you could just email us at info, unless you're ready to tell us who you are. If we know you, then we'll just follow up with you. But just tell us who you are. You could email us at info@anwo.uhuru.org. If you want to maintain anonymity, that's cool too. And we'll look forward to your pledge on July 15th.
Awesome. So our other ongoing political education include a monthly column called the Harry's Daughter column in the Burning Spear. I went ahead and took a screenshot of the page today, and I also have my physical copy, if I can get it to blur. I have my physical copy here. I just took the column out, and this monthly column, as you can see, is on the website as well. It always comes up as the African National Women's Organization as the responsibility, but this one is actually written by a member and our producer Jay Amiche, and it's on the struggle for women's liberation, lies, and revolution, idealism of feminism. And it's a wonderful piece. And we want to encourage, I think what's important through political education is encouraging our members and ourselves to share, to go ahead and write, become writers, to become leaders. And like, I ain't never built a program today, didn't know how to build a program from scratch, and here we are. So this is one of the things that we do with so this Harriet's Daughter column and the Writing Spear, and then there's Harriet's Daughter Book Club. Then it's Harriet's Daughter Book Club, which is a monthly book club. It is it's virtual right now, but we do have them in person, led by the African National Women's Organization. Hold on, son. And this is for opportunity for Black women and femmes to come together, discuss books and other literature that centers on African liberation themes. We invite, our sisters to join wherever whether you read or not. Is just most of the time good discussion, because we're looking at these books from an African internationalist perspective, which could be a different perspective than if you read the books before or read them with a different organization. So the books that we've covered this year for 2020, we started the year with Sada. That was a very phenomenal book. And then we went into historical fiction, which we don't just read, nonfiction or political books. We can draw on some historical fiction books. So we did the In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez, which to me was a phenomenal book and very inspirational. And to know that is a real story, but it was kind of romanticized to her telling, was great. Another book that we recently read, and which is going to be a future broadcast of ours. Again, political education with our live broadcast, is The War Before, the true life story by Sophia Bakari, who was a political prisoner, lived in the underground, former Panther and African Liberation Army member as well. May, we kept it short in May, and we read, I have that book on my desk here. We read Women's Liberation and the African Freedom Struggle by Thomas Sankara. That was it's short term, but it's very impactful. It's a speech by Thomas Sankara. And then we did the Role of Women in the Revolution, which is another speech, very short, but very impactful, by
Sekou Touré.
Touré. Ooh, I can't get it out. And then currently we are reading They Were Her Property by why am I blanking on her name? Because her book is right here. So we're reading that Stephanie Rogers Jones. We're reading that book right now, and that's going to be our July and August book. And we have more books, scheduled for this year. I'm excited. It's always a good discussion. So if you are a reader or not a reader, just interested in, the books that we're discussing, I invite you to join. Go to anwohoo.org/events, and you'll be able to register. Our next discussion is going to be on July 21st.
All right. Well, we are winding down, and we are really thankful so far for folks who are making the donations. We see you in chat. Thank you again, Key Fiender, Umi Nifa, Beautiful Earth, Christina Laster, and other comrades who are. Key Fiender is Chess. Sorry. Yes, they said that already. Chess Henry is the comrade who's going to be making the donation. Sorry about that. I had to read up a little bit. And other comrades who have been watching us throughout this program and others that will be watching us. So we're really excited about making this happen. We're going to show you on the roof by the end of this month, comrades. And that's because we are confident that we are going to make this amount for the month of July. So I'm going to go ahead and make a donation of $150. So you can count that in to the pot, Comrade Coco. And yeah, we're gonna make this amount.
Sorry, my laryngitis is acting up. I am also pledging $100 myself to add to this pot. That's because I really believe in ANWO and the purpose of the ANWO Liberation Center. Are we anyone checking?
Mm-hmm.
We're checking.
I don't see anything, so we can move forward, Comrade.
Okay. So this the last part, since we are wrapping up here, is another discussion of the future of ANWO. Like we have a lot of things that we've done, and I've been writing them down kind of as we go. Just seeing, to speak on them, even though I'll talk us to death. It'll be midnight, and I'm still here. So far as any last thoughts on the future of ANWO? I know we talked a little bit about this. Any additional things?
Just want to say that our comrade Zayi is experiencing some technical issues. That's why they are not on the screen. It's not like they've dropped off, but they are still with us. But I would just say that, the struggle for us since 2015 is really, we've been redefining ourselves. As I often say, ANWO has stretch marks from birthing this baby and creating an organization that we are clear now what our vision is. We are anti-imperialist, anti-colonial membership, African women's membership organization whose responsibility it is to recruit and organize African women from around the world despite our borders. So, even though we are heavily based in the US, any African woman can join from anywhere. And we know that there's a problem sometimes of language, but we can resolve all issues once they present themselves, right? So we look forward to the future where we have more branches and more membership and more activity of African women around the world. And that I look forward to the establishment and the success of these projects that we currently, we didn't even mention the One Africa One Nation Marketplace, but we're gonna continue moving forward. And that's one of the big major problems, major projects too that we're working on in St. Louis. But the success of the market, the success of the ANWO Liberation Center, and all other successes that will follow because of the hard work that we're putting in and the resources that the comrades are sharing with us tonight.
There's Zayi back. So since Zayi is back, would you like to go into the announcements? And if you have issues, I can go ahead and take it on.
Yeah, I can't run too many programs, so it just
Okay.
keeps crashing. So if you
All right. So let
Thanks.
me pull up the announcements here.
I have
Go
them.
ahead.
I have them. If you don't have them,
If you want to do it, you can go ahead.
I can run through them very quickly.
It's
Join
no-
ANWO.
Yep.
please join. Also, we have a goal of raising $5,000. We've currently, not including today, raised 10,000. The goal for this webinar was 500, so I'm not sure where we are with that goal, but I'm sure we'll be announcing it in a little
1,000.
bit.
The goal for this webinar was making it to 5,000.
5,000. I'm sorry, 5,000. So I don't know
have the
where we are,
numbers.
but okay. And then Decolonize, which is our hair and our body natural personal care products. We are selling those. And so you can get your items today at decolonize.com. Our Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa. Please go visit to participate. And for more information, please go visit handsoffuhuru.org. Volunteer with us. We're looking for producers, interpreters, chat moderators, advocates. Email us at info@anwoahuru.org. We'd like for you to share your skills. And our open positions are currently grant coordinator and donor coordinator. Coming 2023, the verdict is in. Reparations Now, celebrating the 40th anniversary edition of the report from the 1982 World Tribunal on Reparations of African People. Pre-order now on at theburningspear.store. And then our World Council, we're looking for people to join our World Council. And I believe last but not least, our One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, which is in St. Louis. The next one is July 20, 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Standard Eastern Time or Central Time. Also join our Harriet's Daughters.
And that's it. All right. Let me go ahead and I'm just gonna take one more check at Facebook and set in case anything came in on Facebook. So yep, that's it. So we have I want to thank everyone for their donations today. That includes $250 from Christina, $150 from Yesterday, $10 from Zaid, $100 from myself, $50 from Umanifa, and $20 from Chess. So that brings us for a pledge total of $3,240. We are still $1,760 short from our goal. I'm hoping that everyone who is viewed today share, like, to increase our engagement to others who may not be connected to the Uhuru movement, but tend to watch the and we have we have $100 more come on in, and that's coming from our IEC Secretary Nicole. So that will bring us for today's goal is $630, making a overall total of pledge is $3,340. So that means we need $1,660 in order to get us to our $5,000 goal or the cost of our roof. So I just want to make sure that everyone that is viewing us either on a restream or on live to share this information. Donate to us anytime during this project. As you all can see that this project is set to take us up until February, and we do need to make sure that we meet that goal. We are going to make sure that we meet that goal. And if you're not able to donate, consider becoming joining the economic development team as a donor coordinator or donor coordinator or grant coordinator, so you can help us reach our goals. Thank you. Anything? I thought I said 9 o'clock. and I have a visitor.
Thank you, comrades. So
All right.
appreciate everyone. We're going to go ahead and close out our live stream. Appreciate everybody who watched us. It was support, comment, and we're glad that we were also able to give you an update on what ANWO is working on. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that will help us get closer and closer to preparing African women to make the African Revolution. And we also want to just hold up these amazing sisters who have dedicated their time, expertise, to make this work